as I was saying earlier, every second Friday here on Big Blend Radio, we have our Food, Wine, Travel show that is a partnership with the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association, which means we get to chat with travel writers and bloggers and photographers and destinations and find out what's going on around the world. And today we're going to find out all about Ghost Ranch, Georgia O'Keeffe's old summer home up in northern New Mexico. It's about an hour outside of Santa Fe, and now is a retreat and an educational center and definitely a unique destination. So Nancy Mueller is joining us. She's a travel writer. She's a publisher of WanderBoomer.com. I encourage you to go to her site. All kinds of wonderful destinations to find out through there. And also, if you're in the travel world, check out ifwtwa.org. So welcome back, Nancy. How are you?
I'm just great. Thank you so much for having me again.
It's
nice
great to have you back
both
on the show. And, I want to give a shout-out to Ghost Ranch. You can go to their website, ghostranch.org. And also, you've got a great article. It's up right now on our site, nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Ghost Ranch in the search, everyone. You'll find it. You'll be able to see photos as well. And it'll be published in the early summer issue of Parks and Travel magazine. But I wanted to start off with, was this going to Ghost Ranch? We were hoping to go there when we were in Santa Fe last summer, but our timing wasn't working out for everything, and so I'm so glad you went. And was that part of, because you were there in November, even for Jojo O'Keeffe's birthday, was that part of you going to the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association conference?
It was definitely an added benefit. Some of us were able to tack on a couple of days at the end of the conference, and were invited to go to Ghost Ranch. And I had looked forward to this for many years, never had the opportunity to go, didn't really know what to expect. I had a vision of it being some type of creative arts center. I knew that workshops were given there, but I really didn't know more than that. And as luck would have it, on the way, we were also able to stop in Abiquiu. And that is where Miss O'Keeffe had her winter home. So we were able to tour her studio and home, and that was even more unexpected. We weren't planning on that. So I really felt honored that we got to do both of those. Definitely a benefit of being a member of IFTWA.
Yeah, IFTWA, that's it. That's what we call, because International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association is a mouthful, especially if we're on a Champagne Sunday or happy hour show.
That's right. So I let you say that. I'll do the acronym.
There it is. And everyone, there's a conference coming up in November, their annual conference, and it's scheduled to be in Fort Lauderdale, so in the beach. Right. And right now, man, I'm thinking the beach
sounds good.
I want to go. I love
good.
Southern Florida. You'll be by the Everglades, so
that's so much fun.
I want to go play with gators.
Now you got to tack on another couple days.
Okay,
November and fall and winter out there is beautiful. It really,
so cool.
really is. What was it like for you going from the Pacific Northwest to the high desert Southwest of northern New Mexico?
Well, I had been there, and oh my gosh, it probably was 20 years ago. Loved it then. I loved the heat of the desert. Just the whole landscape is so different and beautiful. I mean, it has its own rugged beauty, the space, the whole sense of space. You can look in the sky and see 3 different weather patterns happening simultaneously. So I was looking forward to going back to Santa Fe. And as I said, the rest of this was icing on the cake. In fact, I don't even know if Abiquiu, of course I knew it was there when we were there, but whether it had been set up for people to take classes and workshops at Ghost Ranch, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I had the chance this time, and I've always been fascinated by Georgia O'Keeffe and her life and her art. So I did get to go to the museum in Santa Fe.
Oh, good.
And, got to do that and do Abiquiu and Ghost Ranch. So it made for a very enriching experience, I think, to see all 3 of those.
That is, I think, really, really cool. And Abiquiu, I'm glad you said that because I kept going. I know they taught me in Santa Fe how to say it, but it ain't happening.
I want to say Abik.
I know. I just want to go
Go
Abakiki.
ahead. No one will understand you, but
yeah. But when we went to Georgia O'Keeffe's museum, actually met with IFTWA member, travel writer Debbie Stone, and she's a docent there, and she took us around. So I don't know if you got to meet.
Great.
If you got to meet her.
No,
but,
I don't think I didn't.
Oh, you guys would get along because she used to live in Seattle too.
Well, I do need to meet this woman. I've seen her name too many times not to meet her, so I'm sure it will happen.
Her ears are ringing right now. Yeah, she took us around, and it was very interesting in the museum. And of course, they had photos of Ghost Ranch, and there's a wonderful movie in there. But we think about Georgia O'Keeffe, and there's always the iconic morning flower photos and flower photos. And when you're there, you really get the idea of just how, ahead of her time she was. She really was an icon in art, especially for women, and also, an icon in art for not being typical. And everybody thought she studied overseas and did all that, and she was like, no, this is just me, man. Check it out, and doing skyscrapers and things like that.
She was definitely her own woman. That's what I liked about her. She was fiercely independent, a loner. And I did know of her paintings from New York City. I'm from upstate New York, but I remembered her skyscraper paintings and then, of course, the iconic flowers. So I really wasn't even familiar with all of the landscape paintings. And it was so it was such a thrill, really, to be able to drive along the road and see the landscape before we even arrived at her studio or Ghost Ranch to see what inspired her. And then, of course, when we were at Ghost Ranch, we signed up for the landscape tour, and we went to different sites to see where she had been and what she painted. If only we could put brush to paper or to your easel and create what she did. But we all have our own vision. But to be able to see that beautiful landscape, it's so colorful, the cliffs, and very inspiring. So it helped to see that.
It's interesting because art schooling is very formatted, and art teachers want to teach you a certain functionality, like we're going to do perspective, or we're going to do color science, or we're going to do composition, that kind of thing, and they get locked into that. And it's always amazed me, having gone through art college and such, that at the end of a term, the paintings that would turn out would look pretty much like your professor or your teacher's style. And and yet you're there to learn to be creative and let loose, but they don't let you let loose so much. So
and that's
for
why
her,
I like this.
Yeah, because she obviously was so independent that whether or not she had schooling, she's going to do it her way. And especially back in that day and time where most of the artists tended to be male and very schooled, that she's, I don't care, I'm doing it this way. So I think it's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah. And, I did want to say before I forget, I came across this great quote. I mean, there's so many quotes attributed to her. But in view of what we're all going through and experiencing right now with COVID-19 and just, experiencing that, I came across this quote, and it is, anyone with any degree of mental toughness ought to be able to exist without the things they like most for a few months at least. And I thought, that's good. I need to hear that, right? I mean, we get used to our normal way of living, and we have freedom of movement, and maybe it's a good thing to pause for a little bit.
Yeah. I wish
Not
I was
that we
pausing.
have a choice, really, but
yeah.
Could you imagine if they suddenly turned off the television
or the internet?
Yeah. So much trouble.
Don't turn the internet off.
No, people have said that. That could, that would be disastrous for sure.
Well, it's interesting where we are here at Homestead Inn in 29 Palms. I mean, this was originally homesteaded, and it was homesteaded by a lady called Hazel Spell. She came here. She built this place on her own. Later, her husband came and helped with the rest, but you think about, women out here in the desert where there's no internet and all that at that time, right? And she wrote about miners and wrote books and everything. And it's kind of like, Georgia O'Keeffe, I know, back in the day, they didn't have internet out there, and she really saw the land, and she saw the light, and she was also really into food, right, and cooking and having her own garden.
And that's why she wanted the winter home. So she cultivated the garden in Abiquiu, which is still going strong. They have volunteers who come in, and she was really leading a healthy living lifestyle long before it became fashionable, that people talk about it. And, of course, maybe in earlier days people did that more, living, from the land, and we've gone the other way, and now it's back to doing that. But she was definitely ahead of her time then in cultivating, her flowers and her vegetables. She did canning. That was the other thing that struck me in her home. Looking in Abiquiu, this is, and looking at just how orderly her life seemed to be. She really had a place for everything. They said it's very much how she lived. She added windows, it had been a ruined adobe home, but she liked the open courtyard that they had, and she had a friend who came, Marie Chabot, I'm not sure how you pronounce her last. She did the design for it over a 3-year period, and it sits on 3 acres, and it's absolutely beautiful. And very minimalistic, mid-century. When we had the tour, they talked about her listening to music in the evenings there. And so it really gives you a flavor of what her life was like. And she hosted friends. I mean, she had visitors, so she wasn't entirely isolated. And she would go to the neighborhood store, that they had. And so people knew her, but they respected her and really gave her her privacy. At Ghost Ranch, she was affronted because she had found that the owner at that time, it was a dude ranch before it became the education retreat center we know today, and she would go periodically after she discovered it. Her pattern was to stay in New York for the winters and then come for the summers. And she discovered that the owner had sold the ranch given the ranch to the Presbyterians. And that was in 1955. And she thought, well, you should have sold it to me. I mean, I like this place. I come every year, right? So she was worried about losing her sense of privacy. But from the beginning, they respected her. She had a place, where it was more isolated. And so my understanding is the retreat center grew up almost around her, and then you can't tour her home at Ghost Ranch now. You can see it from a distance if you are at one of the retreat centers, but otherwise that's not for the public. But the rest of the grounds are.
To me, when I was reading your article about it, and I remember also going on their website, again, everyone, you can go to ghostranch.org. What was amazing is that there's a museum of anthropology, there's a museum of paleontology, there's also, hiking and a library. I mean, there's a labyrinth. I mean, so
there's
the
everything.
Grounds, yeah, you can really kind of, it's like I think it would be a good place to be sheltered in place right now, where you can kind of reconnect, kind of get back to what life is about. And I think the museums, I would trip out on that, because you're in that area where northern New Mexico, to me, there's magic, there's ancient history, natural history, geology, and the scenery, just kind of like, wow, this is some, drama going on.
Yeah, you really do. You have the culture, you have the history, the art, the beauty. It's a fabulous place to just go and be. And you can, it's very popular with families in the summer. In fact, our art instructor, Diane Ehrenberg, said that when she first came, I mean, she experienced it like Georgia O'Keeffe, where she came and thought, oh, wow, I really like this place. And she would come periodically until she finally ended up moving with her family there. And then in the summers, basically, she said the kids grew up on the ranch because they would do all the activities. And I think it was her oldest daughter, Liz, who was an instructor there as well. So they have horses. You can do trail rides. They have a swimming pool.
Wow.
But it can be very meditative also if that's the experience you want. So what I liked about it is you can design your own experience. Why are you here? Are you here for a spiritual retreat, a creative retreat? Maybe it's a combination. Doesn't have to be one or the other. You can go hiking, beautiful hikes and trails all around. So really, there's something for everyone.
That's
cool.
That is
Very
really
cool.
awesome, know, because, I think you get to learn skills and kind of, just chill. But do they do anything like artist residencies where an artist can go stay there for like a month or, since it's a retreat educational center, did you hear anything about that?
I'm not sure on the details of what that would be like, but I do know they bring in artists to do the classes. I don't know what is involved with it as far as being an artist residence, but they do. They do hundreds of workshops a year, and the range of workshops they do is incredible. It makes you want to just stay there to be there all year and do all the classes.
I know that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, I want to move in there.
I know.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Right.
And you've got to take an art class too.
I'm so glad you said that because I was going to say I wanted to give a shout out to Diane because she was awesome. She was just lovely, first of all, just on a personal level, but just her style of teaching. First of all, we come into the room and you've got all the easels, these blank easels set up, and I thought, uh-oh. I'm not sure about this. And I thought she would just give us a few pointers. I didn't realize she was actually going to give us a full class. And so, she did it right along with us. She had us choose a photo that we gravitated to, a postcard or a photo that she had a selection we could choose from. And then we, got to do our version of that. So, just as Georgia O'Keeffe was inspired by the landscape, these were primarily landscape, but I think there were other ones of Ghost Ranch. So you had your choice of what to do. And so it was fun, and there was absolutely no judgment. It was just, here's a suggestion. What's your goal? What are you trying to do? Why don't you try it that way and see if that brings you closer, to what you want.
Are these people all artists, or
no?
The mixture
No,
of
this
people?
was our International Food Wine Travel Writers Group.
Right.
So this was just for us, but other people, no. People come from all levels, either to, learn from the very beginning. You just want to see what it's about, or you could be more experienced. And so that's the beauty of it, is she can go around and really help you at whatever your level is.
Cool. And you were there for her birthday.
You
were there for her birthday.
We were there for her birthday. That was so fun and unexpected also. We just happened to show up. It was November 15th, and the staff made a cake. And, in fact, I have the recipe right here. It was for Norwegian apple pie cake, and it was delicious. And there's a cookbook that a woman who cooked for her made this or wrote this cookbook, and so you can go to the website and get more information about that also. And so they were basically, foods that they loved. And in fact, there is another. I'm just looking at that too. And the other thing I didn't realize about her was how much she had traveled, and that was one of her favorite topics. So she visited places in Europe and Japan and Mexico, and so that would be fun to, delve into further.
One thing you put in an article was a quote from Georgia O'Keeffe when she about Ghost Ranch, and you said, "Each time I leave here, it is like a death, and each time that I return, it is a birth." And I think that really kind of goes with her art, with the flowers, and she loved all the dry bones, and she had a thing with skulls, and I think there's something.
Structure.
Yeah, it's structure. Yeah, and I think that's really interesting. She was in that process and understood nature's cycles from watching, and understanding light that way too, because she would all the cycle of light, life and light, I should say.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And she there was, when she first came to the ranch, there was a skull on the post at the entrance, and she drew drew something from that, and then that became the symbol for Ghost Ranch. She gave that. So she was very involved, actually, and helped donate when they needed. She would help start fundraisers, through her own donation. So she was very much an active presence.
Do you know who named the ranch? Ghost Ranch? Like where the name
Well, yeah.
comes from?
I mean, that was very interesting because, it's the history in this place. So they had, Navajos and Spaniards who came, and among the Spaniards, there were cattle rustlers, and they used to hide their loot basically in the area's canyons. And so the name was El Rancho de los Brujos, Ranch of the Witches, which they said translated loosely into Ghost Ranch. So that was interesting. Yeah.
Oh, I like that. What was it like staying there? What are the rooms like? And do you bring your own food, or do they feed you?
And were there ghosts?
Can we bring wine?
Yeah. Yes, you can. You can bring wine for sure. There is a dining hall, a communal dining hall, which is great, and the library is across from that. And the library is open 24/7, which, I wasn't up at 3, so I didn't go in, but it was nice to know it was there if you were doing research and just wanted some quiet time in there. But as far as the rooms themselves, they're minimal. You have your choice. Some have private baths, some have communal baths. There's you don't have the internet and telephone, and communal with your partner probably, right? Or the campgrounds. The campgrounds have a communal bath. You can go with that wherever you want to go, Lisa.
Oh my gosh, but the community, that's very European, That's very European, because sometimes like bed and breakfast do it too, where you have a bathroom and everybody shares it, you know what I mean? But
right.
Not at the
you
same
take
time.
your turn,
Whether they do it at
Nancy.
the same time is the question. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's it's not like the baths of Rome, but anyhow, yeah.
Right.
Nancy wants to have rub-dub-dub friends, But so now the rooms, because I saw it really look like all the rooms have, you can sit outside and take in the views, and if you want to go for like an early morning sunrise or an evening sunset hike, to me that looked like it could be iconic.
It's so inviting. I mean, you just look out and you see, and actually one of the mountains, the Pedernal is the name of probably the most noteworthy mountain in the area that is in the south end, and George O'Keeffe painted that. In fact, another quote attributed to her is she said, she called it her private mountain, and felt, she said, God told me if I painted it often enough or frequently enough, he'd give it to me, or I could have it. So it's very, pronounced in her artwork, and it's beautiful. And to see it at different times of the day, and how the light changes. And we were just there overnight. I feel like I was there so much longer because it was so rich. And I can really understand why people would go back.
Did you kind of pretend that you were her?
Oh, yeah. I always.
Yeah.
Cool. Only when I took the art class, but it became evident pretty quickly. I was trying to channel my inner Georgia O'Keeffe, but we have a ways to go on that. But I did like just imagining her there. I mean, that was another quote in my article, is that, she said that, she just wondered about, I forgot the exact quote, it's not in front of me, but just basically about her spirit, when she thinks of death, that, her only regret is that she wouldn't be able to be here, be there, see that beautiful country. But, she said, unless the Indians are right and my spirit will walk here after I'm gone. So, I mean, for me, her spirit is definitely there. It's pervasive.
Cool. Did it change
But you don't have to even know about her to go and appreciate this.
Yeah, you see,
Go
I
ahead.
think that's the cool thing. Yeah, I didn't know that much about Georgia O'Keeffe. I mean, we've done some segments on shows about women in history and women in art, but until you're there, like you can see images, but until you're there in front of the art, it's like two different things, right? And then, just to soak up that atmosphere and the surroundings and kind of get it, there's something about art in place, and for me, when you go to places like this or connect with an artist in that way, there's something that creatively it starts, pecking at your brain, your soul, your creative spirit kind of goes, okay, like it's almost like it's like game on, like challenge, or you sometimes you feel like throwing the towel in and saying, well, no matter what, creative outlet you're in. So did that change you at all? Did you learn something for your own writing?
Oh, what a good question. I think, I did. I mean, in the sense of just keep going. It is one word after another. It's one paint stroke after another. You don't get, to paint, this landscape immediately. It's, let it come forth from you, really let it just draw forth. I think that's the best way to say it without having a preconceived notion of what it needs to be like. She often talked about how it takes courage to create art. And I think that's true. And I think that's what stops a lot of us, whatever your outlet is, your creative outlet, whether it's a musical instrument or writing or painting. And, really you have to give yourself permission to do it. And if you don't do it, just, I think, a little part of you dies inside. That's that part that's unexpressed. You don't have to do it for publication. You don't have to do it to be in an art gallery, but you have to do it for yourself, and I think this is a good opportunity with what we're experiencing right now is to find where is your inner creativity. What have you wanted to do? I saw yesterday Rick Steves, you're familiar with, I'm sure, for all his European travels. He said he did a video of him playing the piano, saying it was time to dust off your old passions and get back to things that called to you before. Maybe those are the same. Maybe they're different now. So I was inspired, definitely, to, just want to have more color in my life, just from the landscape, to keep writing.
And there's a yearning now when you can't go out. Like I feel like a dog pining at the door. Like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like, I want back out. And so when you go through your footage, and come on, all of us as travel writers have backlogs that we're sitting on. Don't tell me you don't out there.
Oh, yeah.
And there's always extra stories that you're sitting on going, well, I could have done another one and another one, right? There's always a story.
Absolutely.
So you sit on there and you're like, go through things and you're like, oh, my gosh. And so you start having these other experiences, and there's a different writing thing that happens.
It's a good time to experiment. People can pick up pencil and paper or a musical instrument that's been in the house that they have never played before, possibly belongs to somebody else. There's all sorts of ways of being creative, and the very first attempts just shows you where you are, not what you're supposed to be or have to be. It just shows you where you are and how you see things, and then you're the one who decides whether it's good or it's bad, or you need to do more, or you need to not do it at all, or whatever it is. It's like, does it call to you, and what do you think about it? Like when you first go to draw, you're, maybe that's exactly how you see the thing that you just drew, even though somebody else might come along and go, oh, well, that needs to go a little to the left, and that line over there is wrong, and it really, maybe that's the way they see it, but not the way you see it.
Exactly.
So I think
you
that's
have
what
to
makes
follow your creative
art,
vision.
It's how different people see things, but they're going to find something in common.
Yes.
Somewhere in a painting
or a drawing. I brought a selection of postcards home from me of her paintings, and then I just changed them daily. They're sitting on my bookcase, so I can just change them and just remember, and I have to thank you, for the opportunity to have the interview and write the article, because I think for any of us, whether you're travel writers or simply travelers, that you come home and you're thinking, how can I extend my vacation? How can I make it last longer? And you can by, going through your photos, writing about it. How can you take action on something you experience? It's funny, I told you I had all these postcards and I picked them up and now they're all on my floor, but I do have them. Yep, they're all in a tumble now. They just keep coming.
It's just something for you to do after that, right? It's like, hey, it's something
to do.
That's how we are now.
Right.
Wow.
That's right. So it's fun to relive it, to have a chance to talk with you and share it with your listeners and write about it again, because it all comes back and I think, oh, yeah, I remember, we got to do that. And next time I go, I want to do this. And, yeah.
Yeah, that is I think that's the part you get. And sometimes you forget things and you look at a photo and you'll see things in a photo that you didn't see when you were taking the photo. And then it's fun also on the social media aspect. That is, I want to touch on that, because I think right now a lot of travel writers, all of us were like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? Even the destinations themselves are going, uh-oh. Because we don't want to seem insensitive to those who have passed, and to the workers on the front lines, all the healthcare individuals, and there's some serious things going on, so we're not making light of it. And, I say don't cancel, postpone, if possible, because there's also economic change. But I think we're going to gravitate more to these kinds of places where you can be outdoors and have more. I think we're connecting a little bit deeper on our soul level, too. So I think these kinds of places are good, but social media now, we're going, oh, look at all these photos we didn't get to post or do, and so now we are armchair traveling or phone traveling or whatever you want to call it, but reliving story. You're doing a lot of that with your Instagram, and I know you're on Twitter and Facebook, and are you doing a lot more on the social media side?
Yes. I mean, I do. I have an endless supply of photos to share, so I'm doing it sometimes more than once a day when I was only doing it once a day. And I love what some tourism boards are doing, because they've had to change too and think about how can, we're still here, we're still relevant, how can we get the word out? So they're doing a lot of virtual tours. And so you can see, and it is inspiring, and it does just, we can be armchair travelers now, because we will have the opportunity to travel again. We don't know what that will look like. Sometimes it's going around, where would you go? What's the first place you want to go to once this opens up? And I think of a place like Ghost Ranch, to somewhere that would be that would so nurture and nourish your soul. And nature always talks to us. We always learn from nature. I think a lot of people are finding solace in doing nature walks around their home, their neighborhood, and getting out and really looking in a way they hadn't when they were so busy. I've looked at myself and I realize how much running around I do normally, and I think, why am I always running around? Maybe I don't need to be running around quite that much, and I could actually be more productive and do something. Or by productive, I mean just maybe doing something creative for myself, not necessarily for publication again. But so I think pressing the pause button does give us an opportunity to reflect on what matters. And a place like this, Ghost Ranch, when you have not only the landscape to inspire you, but you have the people who can help bring that out of you. One of the quotes my daughter said when she was very little, and she had her art teacher, and she said she loved her art teacher, Miss Winnie, because she helped her get the ideas out of her head onto paper. And I just love that, because I thought that's what a good teacher does, right? It helps you. What's your vision? Let me help you reach your vision, not my vision of what your art should look like, just as you said earlier.
That's integrity.
And then, to play. Integrity, right. And then a place to play. it's not all meditative. It's not all learning. Sometimes you want to go out and join in an outdoor activity. So you can do that. If you want to go by yourself, you can go hiking. If you want to be with friends, you can do something else. And, of course, we all are in this wait-and-see mode to see what that will look like. But the beauty of a place like northern New Mexico is there is so much space, where you can find your place.
Agreed. This is, we can move forward and just take solace. Like here at Homestead Inn, our friend Jerry, Nancy and I will take our morning walks around the neighborhood. We were in Joshua Tree Park when it was open and some other parks out here, but we're keeping our distance in the neighborhood. And there's all kinds of tracts of land in the neighborhood. I call it the Desert Hood. And so she's like, with the high winds that were before the rain, she's like, come on, we're taking bags and, we're picking up trash. As I started to notice some trash. And, when you're walking around and you don't have gloves on or anything, it's this time especially, you don't know who dropped what and where. So she's like, gloves on, we got big old tongs out, and off we go to clean up the trash. And I have to tell you
guys. That's wonderful.
Well, you know what? It exercises a whole other set of muscles. My butt hurt the next day, but, whatever. But we picked up
but
trash.
It was worth
and,
it. We all thank you.
We saw all kinds of, and this is the thing about the desert and why I love what you did with Ghost Ranch, too, and what Georgia O'Keeffe does is when you go out in the desert, people don't understand there's more than the geological, drama, right? And when you go out, especially now in the spring, there's these tiny little wildflowers that are just, poking their heads around rocks and stones, and the cactus are starting to bloom. And so when you're picking up trash, right, you're visibly looking at every little square inch. And so there's this whole other thing. And we're walking around doing all this, and boom, here pops up this amazing, and I call them glorious, desert lilies that haven't, they bloom only when there's a lot of rain. So it's kind of a rare thing, and it's rare to see them. They only, they're kind of a rare plant. And here they are, and we found all these lilies in bloom everywhere, in time for Easter. And we're like, would we have seen this if we didn't go and do what we did? So there's these changes we can do. And it just that made my day, made my week, and now I keep running out and looking for lilies and going, okay, I'm glad it's raining for you, but can you stop so I can go play more?
Right.
So
I've heard there's been a fair bit of rain down there, which is shocking because we've had such beautiful weather in the Northwest right now. So a little change of venues.
That's it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Always a pleasure to chat with you and read your stories and follow you on social media. Everybody, again, for the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, also known as IFTWA, go to their website. It's ifwtwa.org. And also, if you want to armchair travel, follow their hashtag IFWTWA, IFTWA, on Twitter, because all the travel writers post their recent stories and social media posts there, and you will go around the world in a day, man. It's super cool. Also, keep up with Nancy at wanderboomer.com. That's the best place, right, to connect with you social media-wise and everything?
And could I say one more thing, too, for Ghost Ranch? There are so many ways that you can donate. They have the Ghost Ranch Foundation. You can donate, of course, financially if you're able to. You can inquire about becoming an ambassador, becoming an instructor. So I really encourage everyone to go to the website to see what they can do to help preserve and protect this. It's a national historical landmark. So,
absolutely.
Thanks for that.
Go to ghostranch.org as well. And everybody, Nancy's article, again, is up on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Ghost Ranch. And also, you'll see it in the early summer issue of Parks and Travel magazine. So thanks so much, Nancy, and stay well.
Oh, thank you both. Thank you, Lisa and Nancy. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.